Now, another thing I got to get to here before we talk about Ford saving the universe, the Ineos Grenadier, I talked about it a few weeks ago on the show, and I didn't give it that much airtime, really. And I wanted to give you some additional thoughts because somebody recently tried to put one on Bring a Trailer. And if you're, make that Cars and Bids. I always say Bring a Trailer because it's usually Bring a Trailer, but this time it was Cars and Bids. And of course they were, thinking they were going to flip it for a hefty amount of cash, right? That's what they were thinking. Base model, well, not base, but as option, this one should be about $71,000-ish, give or take a little bit. And they were probably thinking, oh, we're gonna flip this thing and we're gonna flip it for, $100,000, $200,000, whatever. They're gonna do something crazy with it. And believe it or not, it didn't actually get that much money. They only made about $3,500 off of this, which I know it's a little bit of profit, but that barely really covers registration and taxes in most places. I mean, they basically, in my opinion on this thing, they basically broke even. Now, does that mean people don't like the Ineos Grenadier? I don't think so, not one bit, because the Ineos Grenadier is a interesting vehicle. Yes, it's a new manufacturer, but they are using parts from already existing manufacturers. They're using BMW drivetrains. They're using a lot of stuff. If you don't recall my show from a few weeks ago, and that's fine if you don't, but if you don't, what you got here is the Grenadier is a car made by the company Ineos, which they're not known for making cars, but they are very well known in the realms of manufacturing and industry and all of the above. That's what they do. They're a chemical supplier, petroleum. They do tons of stuff. They're a huge company. And so one of the heads of the company decided is that he wanted an old school Land Rover Defender, but a new one, right? Because all the old Defenders are old Defenders, they're all old. So he wanted a new one, with the classic design that it has. And he said, okay, tell you what, I'm going to go see if Land Rover will sell me the tooling to make the bodies for the old Defender. And he went to Land Rover and they said no. They told him to go pound sand. So instead of pounding sand, he pounded out some new tooling for his take on the Land Rover Defender, and there was some legal battle about it. Anyway, he actually won the court battle in terms of can he even sell these things, and yes, he can. And so Ineos started producing these machines that sort of look like old Defenders. Now, if you look at a Defender and a Grenadier side by side, you can tell they're actually very clearly different cars. But if you see either one of them on their own, is it a Grenadier? Is it a Land Rover? To the uninitiated, you might not know the difference. And that's where these are kind of cool, though, because they bring some modern tech to a classic design. And I don't know what Land Rover was doing with the existing, their actual Defender they're selling now, which really looks nothing like the old Defender. It's not nearly as rugged or utilitarian as the old Defender. It is more of a luxury SUV, which I get that Land Rover builds and sells more luxury-focused SUVs these days. That's what they do. But the fact is that segment, at least for this, is kind of untapped, right? Yeah, you've got more rugged SUVs in the Jeep Wranglers. You've got the Ford Broncos now. It's a booming segment, and these are body-on-frame, dedicated off-roaders, right? And this is a booming segment. It's very good. Jeep has had this segment all to themselves for a good long while. And yeah, you've got Toyota with the 4Runner in there, and of course the new Land Cruiser that's coming out here. So I mean, there's a little bit of competition there now, but there hasn't always been, and there's not nearly as much as the pickup truck segment or some other things. So this is a cool vehicle. I like it. It's at $71,000, it's priced somewhere around, if you were going to buy a Rubicon, nicely trimmed out Jeep Wrangler, you probably should cross-shop it with the Grenadier, in all honesty. And the Grenadier, in my opinion, it's different, it's unusual, it's way more interesting than spending $70,000, $80,000 on a four-door Wrangler or a four-door Bronco. And a good friend of mine personally bought a two-door Bronco recently, and it was almost $65,000, which leads me on to a topic here, which is that cars are just so expensive right now. New cars are really expensive, but the silver lining here is this Grenadier that someone tried to flip on Cars and Bids and only got a couple $1,000s, which I think is that the crazy days of car flippers and dealers selling things way over MSRP are kind of going to be behind us, or at least this is an early indication of that, because people, the way the economy is right now with inflation and interest rates and things like that, it's very expensive to borrow money right now. And I think people are less inclined to make these impulsive decisions to buy certain vehicles at far over MSRP. I think people are a little less inclined to do that now. And again, that is a good thing. I like that. And why is that a good thing? I mean, because nobody wants to pay $100,000 over sticker for a Civic Type R. No one wants to pay $50,000 over sticker for a GR Corolla. And those are markups we have seen. Those are markups we truly have seen on these cars because dealers want to do that, or people after the fact buy them and flip them. And right now, I think the market isn't sustaining that anymore. People are keeping their money tighter. They're keeping it close to their chest. They're not spending it nearly as much. Now, granted, we do have social media influencers, and that they're who I blame. They are who I blame. And they are predominantly in my opinion, the cause of some of these, I won't say predominantly, that's actually kind of unfair. That might be an exaggeration, but they are certainly responsible in some way to wanting to be the first to own a new vehicle, right? And a new vehicle comes out, doesn't matter what it is, say the MSRP is $50,000, manufacturer suggested retail price. The dealer's going to have a little bit on top of that, right? But even the MSRP is built in mind with dealers making a little bit of profit on top. It's built in mind with that. So, the dealer's going to make some money there, several $1,000s anyway, you cut that. But the dealers, what they were doing, especially we saw this after COVID, we saw this in the past couple of years, they were marking these cars up. So you got your $50,000 car. Okay, $110,000. Now, you might say, well, that's stupid. No one's going to buy it at $110,000. It's a $50,000 car. But the problem is people were buying it for $110,000. And a lot of them were these social media influencers whose income, whose entire subsistence exists off of making, things on Instagram, being the first to have all of this. And that was giving, in my opinion, there's plenty of other factors, but I'm just throwing Instagrammers under the bus right now, under the over MSRP bus. But that being said, that's part of it. And dealers get this, in a free market, the dealer would say, all right, I want $110,000. I'm asking $60,000 over sticker, and it's not going to sell. It's not going to sell. No one's going to buy it, right? They're not going to make any money. They're going to have to lower their price for someone to buy it and for them to make money. But the problem was people were buying it. So just even with this Grenadier, right? This is a hot car. This is interesting, especially in the enthusiast segment. People are starting to know what these are. People are also forgetting that there is a pickup truck version of the Grenadier, which I think is tremendously cool. And if you're watching on video, there's a picture of it up on screen. And for some godforsaken reason, we're not getting that pickup truck version. It's like someone at Ineos said, well, we want to sell some cars in the American market. Let's start with an SUV. Americans like SUVs. But guess what? What do we like more than SUVs? Pickup trucks. I mean, the F-150, number one selling vehicle in the country, is a pickup truck. Mid-size pickup trucks. That segment is on fire with the new Toyota Tacomas. You've got the Gladiators. You've got the Chevy Colorados, the Ford Ranger. You've got a lot of options in that mid-size category. And the Grenadier pickup truck, which is called the Quartermaster, by the way. The Quartermaster version is that one. And they are, it's a crime that these aren't coming to the U.S. Now, maybe they will. Maybe there's some safety and regulation nonsense holding this up, because that happens often. But for something like this to not be here when we are a pickup truck market, and not only that, not to mention the Quartermaster version tows more than the Toyota Tacoma. It has a higher payload than the Toyota Tacoma. And as far as I can tell, it would actually be class leading in both payload and towing for a mid-sized off-road truck. And to that end, I think that's incredibly cool. And Ineos, what are you doing? What are you doing? If there's anything to pay over sticker for, not that I would, but if there is, this pickup truck one. I'm just saying. So, hey, anyway, don't go anywhere. Ford is saving the universe and more. We're going to talk about Cummins as well. If you own a Cummins-powered vehicle, you probably want to hear about the latest that is going on and the recalls surrounding it, too. We're going to get to all of that and more of your car sounds right here on Automotive ADHD. Don't go anywhere.